Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be here. So I spent most of the last 6 months in the Valley. Elizabeth Yin, who you're going to hear from tonight, she's the reason I was there. She was at 500 Startups and was my investor and invited me to their incredible accelerator program there. And I thought I would talk about my experience there and see what kind of grimaces I can get from Elizabeth. Thank you for mentioning my background, 18 years at startups, Quick Play, Blue Ant, and Chatter in the last year. And despite that, I feel like I spent a lot of time in the Valley doing this over and over again. And I want to share with you the times that I did that so that hopefully the same thing won't happen to you. Pitching. I was sitting at a desk in Mountain View, California, 500 Startups, and a 500 Startups person, not Elizabeth, came by the desk and said, "Oh, what do you do?" And I started pitching her, and she cut me off 20 seconds in and said, "Oh, your pitch sucks. You really, really suck. You're not the CEO, are you? I hope you're not the CEO. Oh my God, you're the CEO." And I was sitting with my colleagues, Wes and Greg, our newish leadership team. I was like, "Guys, it's going to be okay, I promise." But what I learned and what I came to understand is the how to get at what really matters, what's really compelling when you're pitching a prospective customer or investor, and the realization that 80% of what I thought was interesting really wasn't. And so the outcome for us was a happy one. We pitched a demo day, and TechCrunch picked us as one of their favorite startups, which created a lot of opportunity for us. I think there was a direct correlation between that outcome and the number of times I was told I sucked. And so my encouragement to you is, not to practice your pitching with friends and family, but to look for those people who will give you the harshest criticism and be very realistic about what is interesting, what makes them lean forward, what makes them care, and what they really are not interested in. I know that you guys have heard, we always talk about MVPs and, ship product quickly. And this is one area that I think Chatter Research actually did quite well at. We sell our software to Fortune 500 companies, banks, big retailers, and we did launch our software to these organizations very, very quickly. And most people would say, "Oh, you are going to get just killed." And the reason I bring this up is because everyone in the Valley kept saying, "Oh, you seem you're so un-Canadian in your approach about this." And I never noticed that, but maybe there's something to it. But the reality is, within hours of launching in these large organizations, we learned so much about our product. We got such great feedback. We were in a position to react and respond quickly. And it meant that our product 30 days later was so much better than it was at the beginning. And I encourage you to not be fearful of launching with big partners. If we can do it, anybody can. Failure is another big topic that you talk about in Canada. We accept failure, fail fast. And the thing I notice in the Valley is that when people talk about failure, it's a lot more personalized. It's not I was part of an organization that failed. It's I totally screwed up and the company went under. And the light bulb went off for me that was the key ingredient that was missing in some of my past experiences, where if you personally and leadership are not willing to talk about personal failure, then your organization isn't really actually accepting of failure. My final point is one around FOMO, which if you are pitching an investor, you really want them to be that kid in the yellow t-shirt. And it doesn't exist in Canada in the same way it does in the US, but it really does exist in the US. And I learned about a fundraising process, and it took a really long time to get it through my thick skull what that really means. It means pitching 50, 60, 70 investors within 2-3 weeks to give them that child psychology sense that there's a tea party going over there that they really want to be a part of. And the companies that I noticed were most successful were great companies, but they also just ran the best process. Okay, my 4 rules for how to suck in Silicon Valley. Be very humble when you're pitching. product, take your time with it, wait till it's right. Failure, just remember it's not your fault. And fundraising, keep the process loose. It'll happen when it happens. And just to be clear, do the opposite of those things. Thank you.
Question.
Any questions from anybody? Yes. Are there microphones? Do you need a microphone?
I don't understand the part where you say that failure is not your fault. I mean, who else are you going to blame, especially if you're the CEO of a big startup?
I'm pretty sure everyone here has worked with people who are masters at deflection. And I agree with you, but it's really hard to say, actually, that was I own that. I screwed up. And I noticed a huge difference in my experiences in Canada and with folks in the Valley. It was really revelatory. Yes.
Could you explain a little bit more about what you mean by tight fundraising process?
Elizabeth, are you going to talk about a tight fundraising process? Elizabeth knows so much more than me about this, and I think that's the topic of her talk. So she'll answer it better than I can. Yes.
Well, hi. Okay, I can hear Miss. Just a quick question. As you saying that you're doing product development, as you already sold to your first customer and you were launching it and then learning as you go, how do your customers feel about using them as like guinea pigs? Or did you have any customers that basically were like, we don't want to work with you a month in?
So it had everything to do with our responsiveness to their feedback. As long as we were almost hourly responding to their feedback and making those improvements, then we were fine. There's absolutely no question. We usually run like a 30-day pilot. There's no question that the product we had at day one, they would never have signed up for on day 30 to continue on, but all of our customers have, and it had everything to do with their sense that we were responding quickly, and yes, next week they would have more feedback for us, but they knew we would improve the product. That was the key for us.
One more question.
Anyone else?
I'll ask one then. Alex, right here.
Hey.
Hey, so what's one good aspect of being Canadian when you're running a startup, if there is any?
Oh, everything. Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about, and certainly my experience of the fun of the startup has been the journey, the people you work with, right? Because it's going to be one step forward, 8 steps back every day. So who do you want to do that with? And the team that I work with, Wes, Greg, Steph, Nico, we're all Canadian and proudly so. And there's a unique dynamic that we have that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world, no question. I mean, their brains and skill set, but their personalities of being Canadian is a very unique, awesome thing. Thank you.